your 9.5 application that you're on now. And so cut me off, ask questions. You know, I want to make sure that I'm answering your questions that you have specifically to the program. Oh, it looks like we have Donna joining.
Yeah, she's trying to get in.
Okay. Let's see here. All right.
Now, if you want to hear something, you gotta, I don't think you have audio. I don't know. Dial that number on your phone. Have them. And it's going to ask for this, and then it'll ask for that.
So great. So what we've done here is we actually pulled a copy of your data into this program to give you an idea of what it will look like, looking at what would be your information in the program. Just FYI, you know, anything I do in here or change or send notifications to will not affect your actual live data. So it's just a staging environment, but at least when we're looking through this, it'll look familiar to you all like you were working in this application, say, today. What will be unique here and some of the differences with the new web-based application will be that first and foremost, you'll no longer have RDC connections to access our application. So what you'll do instead is come into the web browser here, as you can see, and you'll just be prompted when you come in to log in with your email address and password. So that's how when each user in the application is logging in, that's how this application knows what permission levels, what locations that user has access to, and that's how we're carrying over everything that you're doing currently in the 9.5 application into this web-based version. Things like password resets will go away with this. You know, if your RDC password expires and you forgot to do it before it expired on you and you have to call our support department, you know, that naturally goes away when moving to this web-based application. You know, if your users, someone internally forgets their password, that's where it would just go to your admin on your account and you guys can reset passwords yourselves and, you know, not have to call our department anymore for things like that. When you come into the application, what's nice here is you'll have a whole new look and feel. So, you know, my goal here is to, it's not necessarily training, but just to show you what's new here, how it'll look and feel, and then certainly to reiterate that all of the functionality that you currently have in the 9.5 application is carried over into the VR application. So you won't lose any ability of how you're doing things or any information where certain information is stored. That'll all carry over into the application. And then if anything, we're enhancing things and adding a ton of functionality here that I'll cover. So when you come into the dashboard, what this dashboard is showing you is essentially a high level of what's going on right now. So you can see occupancy rates, you can see inquiries that you've had today, arrivals, departures, you know, the weather. You can see who's active in the application right now. So this would be green for when you guys are using it, as to who's in and who's not, you know, quite simply. If you have any arrivals or departures that are going on today. And of course, because of each user logging in with their email address and password, you can customize these widgets to organize however you like to view your information. So that every time you come back to the dashboard, that is how this information be organized for you specifically, so that each user could organize these pods and information the way that they would like to do, you know, on a case-by-case or user-by-user basis. And of course, permission levels on each pod and locations, all of that carries over. So if, you know, you have permissions to view something and it's not relevant to you, or, you know, if you didn't have permissions to see something, you know, that's where this wouldn't even show. So for example, like I could even hide the weather, it'll disappear. So you can customize these dashboards and a lot of more things in the application, you know, based on what you're trying to accomplish in, you know, your workflow and your job role. So, you know, this whole building process of over the years of development has been around a couple things here. One being workflow and setting up the workflow in this application to try to make your jobs and, you know, your day-to-day operations more efficient. And so an example of that is, you know, when you're organizing this information, but the left-hand side navigation here is, we have Barbara joining. The left-hand side navigation you have here is where we've grouped things together. So this is how you'll move about the application. So for example, anything to do with reservations would be your availability graph, your reservations, inquiries. Same thing with financial information would be under that dropdown, so that you can quickly navigate where you're trying to go in the application. So we've grouped things together and hopefully made it more, we got Brian joining now too. Let's see here. Make sure that they can hear me. Brian and Donna, I believe you just joined. Let me know if you have any issues with audio or video, or to make sure you can hear me. All right.
Yes, I can hear. This is Donna.
Hi, Donna. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
My name is Charlie
Nice to
Ackerman.
meet you.
All right. And we should be good to go. All right. So I'll keep going. Cut me off if anyone's having technical issues, and we can make sure we cover those and fix them. So what's nice here is that you'll come in now, you have a whole new look and feel. You can navigate about the application depending on your job role and what you're access to and what you're looking at. You can filter by location at the top now. So depending on what you have set up, you can view this information based on what location you're at, or if you're looking at long terms or your short terms, very easily by filtering that at the top. So if you're trying to view all of your locations, or if certain users only need to see a couple locations, you can set all of those things up. And then if, for example, we come into reservations, what we're doing here in the new application is around the theme of list views. And so what these list views are is we're looking at our reservation list here, showing all of our reservations by most recent reservation date. So at the bottom, we've got thousands of pages, and we can see very simply when they're set to arrive or depart. And these themes of list views carry through. So if you're looking at all of the list of all of your guests, if you're looking at inquiries, if you're looking at your owners, you have these list views or your units to be able to quickly see, and I'm under this particular group, just looking at this one location, and it's hiding all the rest of the locations. So if I filter this to all locations, I would see all of the locations here in this list view. So you have that ability to move about and set up your views. And when we go back in here, we can look at our reservations. So what happens here is the list views give you the ability to filter and find what you're looking for very easily. I can go in here, and if I was looking for a particular person, I could start typing in their last name, and it's going to go in and find me anyone with those letters. Or as I type in more, continuing to filter down this list. I can filter multiple columns. So if I wanted to say, okay, I was looking for, maybe people arriving, on Saturday, for example. People or a few reservations that are arriving on Saturday. So you have that ability to filter these things and find who you're looking for or what you're looking, if I wanted to bump this out another day or so, I could easily do that as well and get some population, get some information in here. So really easy to filter multiple areas, and I'll bump this out so we get a little bit more information.
Charlie, you might have better information if you use the
so that we
marathon.
can, okay.
Middle keys,
Or the middle keys.
not long term.
Middle keys. I'm sorry.
Why don't we just do all locations, and then we'll get a lot of stuff here. I was using that one particular location, and I'll go back to it because I threw some images on a particular unit in there so we can see that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the point is here is that it's easy to filter this stuff down, find the information you're looking for. You can even do things such as mouse, and I could filter this down by clean this filter out. Then I'm getting all people who are actively staying in our units right now. You have the ability to do a lot of stuff here with this. And then when you find what you're looking for, you can click filter down list, find who you're looking for. And then what it's doing here is bringing me in to stable. And so what it's doing here is bringing me to where I'm on the reservation form. And so what you can see here is it may look familiar to what you currently have in the 9.5 application with, your reservation details tab, your notes tab, your user fields tabs, and so on and so forth. What we've done here is broken these out into pods. And so now you can see everything to do with this reservation on this one screen right here in front of you. And so I can drag these pods around and set my views of how I want to view every reservation in that order. So that if I like my user fields at the top, I can view it there. Or if I'm moving things around, I can set it up that way. And then, for example, from here, I could go directly to the unit from this reservation. And what we're doing is we're building out the breadcrumbs to show you how you got to where you are and show you how to get back to where you previously were. So it's all about workflow and setting this up so that whether you're a new user, an existing user, if you're digging in certain areas, you're able to see where you were. And simply by clicking the back button, you can get right back one step to get back to this guest reservation. Or I could click on it and go right back to the list.
Hello?
And so,
Hello?
hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we lost you.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Let me backtrack. Do you remember where you lost me at so I can make sure I cover back to what I was talking about?
You're just freezing up.
Okay, let's see here. Are you able to hear me now? Am I all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, sorry about that. All right, let's try this again. So if I didn't cover it before, you have these list views so that you're able to filter down this information on each column. You can filter on, the grouping if you're looking for, just, the canal group, and you can filter down further to find what you're looking for. And then clicking into each one of the reservations will bring you right to the guest reservation form. And so the guest reservation form allows you to edit these pods and drag them around of where you're trying to go or how you like to view your information. So I can simply move my notes up to the top. I can add my user fields. So once you set this up, this is how every reservation for you, unique, your user, your credentials, this is how you're viewing the information that you need. So each user in the application can set up and move these pods around to however they like to view their information. So from this, what we can do is we've built out the internal and external communications in the application to where any primary form that you're on in the application, whether on a reservation, a unit, the guest, you can actually share this form that you're on with another member of the team. So I can come in here and I could say, for example, maybe I booked this reservation and Lauren needs to follow up on this reservation about a birthday cake that the guest wants to have, on a specific day. So what I could do is I could go down here and we have you all turned off, but I could check one or many people and I could go in here and I could say, hey, Lauren, follow up about a birthday cake. And what you can do is we're taking everything you're doing externally in terms of emails or writing down things on pen and paper and bringing that into the application so that you could go in here and you could say, I just want to send this as an email and text message to Lauren as well. If it's maybe urgent, I need her to go take a look at a unit, whatever it might be. And when I send this out, what will happen is you can send this message out into the application and you'll get a notification at the bottom. Let me see here if I refresh it. I know my internet's unstable, so let me refresh here. And when you send that notification, Lauren or whoever you send it to would get that notification in their action center. And so if we go in here and we recreate that and share this out, and I'll write a quick message, and I can share it to all three. You can send that out, and then I would simply get a text message to my phone. Apparently it's not acting up right now, and that's because our developers are in there actively editing this as it's still in our staging environment. But what would happen is it pulls into your action center. And that's where you then could click on that link of the person sending you something, and it'll bring you right to this form here where you could go in and start working on it. So you have that ability to send notifications and share notifications. And then you also can also set up reminders for yourself as well. So maybe you need to remember on Sunday at 4 o'clock to go to a pool at a unit and to shut off the pump. You could set that reminder up in the program for you on a specific day and time, and it'll push it to whether it's going to your phone or if it's going to your text or email. So you have the ability to do those certain things in the application, setting up reminders or sharing information, which is really nice. You also have the ability to send out communications as well. So what you can do here is this is a new communications pod. And so what this can do is every guest communications that you're sending out to your customers will log here in the communications pod so that you can see a log of every conversation that you've sent to that respective guest or owner. So when I come in here, I could actually go and hit a new communications. I would pick from a list of my templates that I have. Maybe it's an arrival template or something I want to send. And you now have in here a full HTML editor where you can add your image and send these things off. So if I just go in here and I hit save and send now, what actually happens here is it will log that communications in the pod here, showing you that on a date and time it was sent to that person. And when you click on it, we have them turned off so they don't actually send to your guest, but you'll be able to click on it and actually see the communications as well that was sent to the guest. Any questions so far?
You would use that kind of instead of going to your individual email, we keep a better record there.
Yeah. So what happens here is you go into your communications templates, and this is something that you'll recreate in here where you're going to want to add, because you have now a full HTML editor. So when emails are being sent out of the application, you can put your own branding on it. I've made a fake company here to just show you some information that I'm able to show. But you'll go in here and you'll set up your new templates. So if you wanted a template to go out for every new reservation, or cancellations, arrivals, owners, you would set up these templates here. And if we looked at one, I could click this guest arrival one that we were just looking at, for example. And if I upload some images here that we'll pull in, I can go in, and what we've added in here is actually, you don't have to use a separate image resizing tool anymore. The images will auto resize in the application for you. So when you send them in, they're really quick. You get the green light, and then you can click on them. If this is, for example, your logo, and this was an image that you wanted on this particular communications template, then what will happen here is those will pull in into your message, and you could set up this arrival template. You can customize the look and feel of it, add your bookmarks and what you need, any attachments. And what you can further do is you can say, so for every new arrival that we have, based on these reservation types, so if we want it as a guest confirmed or a long-term booking, for example, we then could say, let's send this email out automatically 5 minutes before they arrive, or 5 days before they arrive, or a day before they arrive. And so now what's going to happen is this template will automatically fire out to the guest based on that reservation type, whatever date you specify, whether it's a day or hours before they arrive. So another example is on a new reservation, where we could say that for every guest confirmed, for example, I want to send out this email to the guest 5 minutes after the reservation is made. And so these will automatically trigger and go out to your guests, where I'm not sure if that's what you're manually doing, you mentioned earlier, of sending it on every arrival or departure or cancellation. You could set up some automated emails here that will kind of reduce some of the time that you might be spending doing that.
That's great.
Does that include the confirmation? Like I noticed down, if you scroll down, it has the unit where they're staying. Does it include the other information, or?
Yeah, it'll include anything that you want. So these are your bookmarks here on the right. And I obviously made this up. But if I were to say, okay, I want my confirmation number here, I would, if I could spell, I would type in, and then I would just say, okay, let's go find. And we have hundreds of bookmarks that you can choose from. And so all you have to do is just start typing in some letters and hit enter. And I can find, I typed in confirmation, I started typing in it, and there's what I want. And you have a description next to each bookmark as well as to what they are. And so maybe I want it to go right there. I just click on it and bring it right there. And so now that bookmark's there. So whatever you want on this template in bookmarks pulling from the reservation, you can drag in to that document and set this up once so that then it's just firing out every time.
And this is global for the whole system or within each office?
Or each person?
Yes. This is
Or
based on,
each user?
yeah, this isn't based on each user. This is based on the reservation type. So it's
Okay.
not going to, currently right now, the way we've set it up, it's not to go out based on each location you have. It's something we're actually looking into right now. There's been some people have requested that, okay, well, reservation types is great, but it will also be, based on reservation groups. Some people only have one location, but they kind of break them up by putting them in different groups. And then like yourselves, if you have 10 locations, maybe you want them to go out based on locations. I think it's a filter we can probably add to this over the next couple months before we release it. So, as of right now, it's only based off of the reservation types, but I will say it's something we're looking at in terms of sending out, so that, if you have different branding or if you have different messages based on locations or groups, that's something we're looking at as well to try to help you maybe further define where you want these things firing out from. I would say that you could essentially not set automated ones if you wanted, and you could name them by location so you know what they are. You could do it manually in that case, and then just sending them manually from the reservation and pick the template that you have created for that location so that you can get them a little more personalized for now. But I would expect that we'll have something in there by the time this is out in the next couple months that will probably satisfy it by location.
Okay, because like right now we have a confirmation template for each location.
Okay, so you send them out by location?
Yeah.
That's great. I'll write that down. And it is something that I've come up on a couple, of our customers with multiple locations. I understand that it makes sense to have it that way. So it's something we're looking into, and just, we're constantly, as you tell the notifications are turned off, this is our staging environment. Our developers are actively, working on the program while I'm demoing it too. So sometimes some things they shut off on me. Communications, for example, sometimes they're working on this morning.
Don't
so
show them
stuff
that.
like that. I know.
Don't show them that part.
I know, exactly.
So you can do this with payments. You can make an automatic thing for the guests to remind them they have a payment due. Yeah,
you would just set up your payment template, and then as of right now, it could be automated saying it's based on when a payment is made, and then you could set up templates that say your payment is due, and then those you'd send one off to those people. You could filter down your reservations list by people with a balance due, if you're looking a week out, and then you could simply come in here. So if we actually, let's filter this by canal, and I'll just grab a couple here when we filter this by balance due. And then what you'll do is you'll just go in and you can check the boxes that you want. So I filter this by just a certain week, and I'm going through all of your locations here, so that's why it takes a few seconds. But and then you can hit your communications template once you have a few checked, and send them right from here that template you have created and saying, hey, you have a payment due. So you can go in here and actually check the boxes and fire it off to all of them.
But that would be all of them per it. Each agent would be doing their own. Or are you saying?
Yeah, you could filter by yourself. So you're just doing it by yourself.
Yeah,
ones
you
you own.
Filter by your confirmation number, I guess.
Yeah, whatever one you wanted in terms of filters. And then, if you're selecting a few, you'd say, okay, I want this one. These guys have balances due based on my agent name, and then you would then say, okay, fire off this template. I'll select the template and send it now. So then you can just do it right there in mass. And you can have different templates set up here so that you have that ability to do certain things like that, and sending out those messages and, automated, whatever it might be.
So once again, the templates are global for the whole setup, not individual per
We can't
office
personalize
unless we make them that way. No, I mean for each, they're for the global for each database, like whether it's Islamorada, Key Largo, or if it's individualized for each location.
Yeah, it's not individualized yet in terms of being able to set up templates based on, and I'm sorry, I'm working from home today and my internet's apparently weak. Let me just X this out and give me 1 second. Let me try to get my internet going again. But yeah, right now it's based off of all locations. So it's not being able to filter by location. And then you're setting it up so that it's, you could create them so that you send them one off and you could name them by location. And then from there, you could, then send them off, not automated, but you could send some general ones if you wanted to automate that way.
Okay.
And give me 1 second here. I'm just pulling this back up. My internet at home. All right. Perfect. Apologies for this. There we go. Cool. So the other things that you can do with communications as well, and you guys can see my screen again, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Is, do you guys all ask for electronic signatures or any terms and conditions to be signed on each booking?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Are you using like a separate electronic signature tool, or are they just checking the box online, or how's it work?
Some of us are using Dotloop.
Okay. So, and the reason why I asked that is that we've actually incorporated electronic signatures into the application. So what this will do is, if we go to a template that's in the example of a new reservation, we can actually add an electronic signature that we would like to be signed with every new reservation that's placed. And maybe this is something you would wait on until we get the locations built out, obviously. But what you could do is you could go in here and create, if this is your terms and conditions, you would paste that document in here, and then you would drag the associated bookmarks of where you want them to initial, where you want them to sign, and where, dates, and so on. And what will happen here is your new reservation email will read something, this is what will go to the guest, and it'll say, hey, thanks for your booking. The next steps here will be to complete this electronic signature. And that's where you drag that bookmark, and it's actually going to merge that electronic signature document into a hyperlink in the email for you. And then the guest will get it. They'll click the link, they'll go through it, they'll sign it, and then it'll actually push into a guest reservation into that communications pod. So, you have the ability where I go in here. This is where that document will then be stored on the reservation for you.
Okay.
I think I have someone joining. 1 second. Let's see. Nope, we're good. All right. So an example I think I showed you earlier, but if you went in there, you grabbed something, you can also text out of the application to a guest. So maybe this example where this guest that's staying needs their house cleaned, and they said to let me know when it's done. You could go in here and you could say, hey, your house is clean. And then you can go in here and you can send it now. And that's where then this message will get sent out, and it'll log in the communications. The guest can get a text message out of the application that their unit is clean, and then it'll log it here. And when you click on it, it'll show you where that message is and what it reads. Any questions on that piece there?
Nope.
All right. So you have that ability now to internally and externally communicate and log this stuff in the communications pod, which is new. So hopefully that'll help you out a little bit. But in terms of, the information in each pod, what we've made sure to do is to carry over all the information that you currently have in the application and bringing that into this existing application. And so what that means is that it's actually built on the same database that, you're currently using in your application right now.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry, my computer muted. And so what happens here is that when you make the transition over to the new application, that information carries over in here. So you're not going to lose any historical information. You're not going to lose, any backdated information, and anything where you currently are putting in information in any of these fields will carry over into the new application. So we've made sure to spend time over the years of building this, that when you transition here into this new application, it'll move nicely into this program where for us on our side, it should take us just a few hours to set this up. And then really the transition's more around, maybe creating some new communications templates, resetting the user permissions. And then of course, we'll have some training and stuff included as well. All right.
Okay.
If we go into reporting here, what we've done with the reporting is this is your reporting queue is what I would call it. So this is where when you go in, you can run a new report by clicking the icon. And what we've done here is showing you all of the reports that you have available to run in the application. And so you can filter by just like the rest of the application by a description or the report name, and you can start typing in some letters. So if you're looking, for example, for something for arrivals, you could just start typing in, and now anything in the description that has to do with these letters, or as I type in words, I can now find what I want. And maybe it's this arrivals by booking agent report, for example. And so just like the communications piece, you can actually automate these reports to run for you as well. So for each user, if you have certain reports you're looking at daily, weekly, or monthly that you're running, you could actually come in here once and set this up and automate it to run every Monday or every month or every 3 days a week, whatever the criteria is, and it'll spit it out in the Action Center for you, and running that in here, and you'll see it in the queue so that when you come in on that particular day and time, it'll be sitting there waiting for you to view it. So you don't have to sit there and wait for the report to complete running anymore. And you actually, while this report runs in the background, I can actually go off and it'll just notify me when that report is completed and ready to be viewed.
That's with any report?
Yes, any report. So you can see here, I just got the flyout that report completed. And that's where this notification, the Action Center here, is that report sits here. And so when I came in on that day and time that I had set, that's where I'll see it. It's in here, and I can actually click on it, and it'll open up a new tab and bring me right to that report. So if I was working on owner statements, or I was looking at the availability graph, or I was doing something else, and then I got a notification, whether it was a report that was done running or someone in the company sharing something with me, when I click on those things, it just opens up a new tab, brings you to it, so that when you're done looking at it, you can exit out and it'll bring you right back to where you were previously working, so you don't lose progress on what you were previously doing.
Okay.
And you clean them up, delete them out, so that you're keeping up with your Action Center. But the idea here is being able to communicate better with the staff, and sending each other reminders, are also running reports in the background that'll just push to your notification center when they are done running. And then you have all of you don't have to sort it anymore by certain filters before running. So it'll run in all different sort by options. So you can just export them the way that you need them.
So you just run one report, but you have the option to sort them however you want.
Yeah. So it's not like if you ran this arrivals by, arrivals with cell phones by booking agent sorted by arrival time, and then you're like, oh shoot, I needed it sorted by date time, and you had to redo it. It'll actually just show you all the options. So you don't have to do that now anymore. It'll just run them all for you. Yep. And then I kind of jumped into the availability graph here, but what we're doing with the availability graph is we've added the guest names here, which is new, into each reservation. So now you can quickly see the guest name of who's staying in that unit. And when you click on one of them, what you will have is this flyout at the bottom. And so this flyout here will show you quick information about that particular guest staying in that unit. You can see their arrivals, you can see any balances due or amount they paid, or if you simply need their phone number to give them a call, you could simply do that right here, grab it and make a phone call. So as you click through these things, it just updates the list and shows you, what you need. And of course, if you need to dig in, you can go to the reservation from here, the unit, and so on and so forth. And it's just going to build out those breadcrumbs so that if this availability graph was filtered down and you start digging into something, when you go back here to your availability, it keeps that filter there and where you left off. Your codes at the top, if you hover over them, will tell you what they are. If you have the list filtered down, it's just, you don't have any of those codes showing, then they wouldn't show up there. So it's all customizable. And of course, if you're hiding the columns, you can do that so that you get a full screen. You can minimize things so that you can see everything. And if you prefer to look at the list view of your availability, you just toggle over to the list view version. So that's not going anywhere. So you still have that ability here. And then your search by criteria at the top is where, if somebody calls and they're looking for certain dates or ranges, you would just drop down the search by criteria, filter the range that you're looking for, the nights and so on and so forth, any amenities, and you apply those filters and it'll filter down that list. You can zoom in, zoom out, pan forward, pan backwards. So you can get this to view how you'd like to view your stuff. And when you click on the units, once you have this filtered, to create reservations, you could click and drag it to create that reservation. And then, going in, right clicking it to make the actual guest reservation. And from here, if the guest has been with you, or if, you say, hey, you start typing in a name or whatever it might be, if I could really spell, you'll filter down here and it'll find you, of your guest or owners. You could click on them, or if this is a new guest, you could go in and type in new information to create the new guest reservation and go from there. So that's one, way that you can create reservations as well. Any questions so far?
No.
All right. So the list views are really powerful. Batch checking in and checking out, right? If you have a bunch of people coming in at once and you need to check them all in, you can go to your check-ins, you can select the ones you need and check them all in at once. If you have a bunch of people come in overwhelming you, but you have that ability here on these list views to set them up. And, if you like to view them in particular ways, you drag these rows around. And again, that's all how you personally like to view your information. Anyone dealing in owner statements and the financial process there on the call?
Yes.
All right. So, all right. Most of the financial process in terms of your payments, your charges will be the same workflow. What we've updated with the owner statement process is hopefully making it a little bit easier for you. When you come in here, what it's going to do is, based on the location that you're looking at, it'll pull a list of all of your units listed down. You could then filter, saying, I only want to look at my active units per se. And this is by this particular location. And so it's going to show you here when the last posted statement was, when you last posted those statements for that particular owner, and if you've regenerated any of those statements already. So the team went in and a copy of your data and regenerated them to pull some information. And so what happens is when you regenerate those statements, it'll fill out all of these columns here to the right. Reserve on hand, revenue that unit had, and so on and so forth. So that if you're looking through this before posting these statements, you could click on it and it'll pull a fly out. Any questions so far?
Nope.
All right. So being able to quickly look at the regenerated statement by clicking on it will populate that link here so that you can see it.
We lost you. Charlie froze up.
I think the dog is.
Get closer to my router. All right. Hopefully this is better. All right. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I just sat right next to the router. My apologies. Let me know if I lose you again. So what we've changed with the process of owner statements or tweaked is where you won't go through and print the checks first and then come back into the application and post them. You'll actually come in and after you regenerate your statements, you'll select them, you'll post them first, and they'll fall into your disbursements. And then that way, at some point later in the day, if you're doing, physical checks still or EFTs, you can push out all your EFTs or all your checks to all of your agents, your vendors, and your owners. They'll all print at one time. So you don't have to go through and print all your agent checks, then go back and print all your owner checks and vendor checks. You could do that all from here at one time if you're printing all those physical checks still or sending out all those EFTs.
Is it an automatic EFT or do we have to actually load the file up to our bank?
It's something, as of right now, it's still the same way. We'll spit out the EFT file and you load it up to the bank. What we're working on in development right now is actually taking the EFT that gets generated and kind of like the communications, when it pops up that template, it'll actually be connected to your bank and you'll have a setting where you plug in the email address specifically you want for that location or that bank account to have that EFT file sent to, so that it just directly sends from the application to the bank, that you don't have to do that process manually, and also storing that EFT file locally on your computer either. It'll just send it right out of the application and it doesn't get stored anywhere.
Okay.
Yep. So it's not something we have set up yet, but that's, we plan on starting releasing this and come summer. And so these are the final tweaks we're making here to wrap that up so that we can then put that in together and then start onboarding customers from there. All right. Let's see here. I've covered some reporting. The global search you may have noticed at the top here. So if you were looking for, something in the application or a guest calls or an owner calls, and you know specifically where you're going, you don't have to go through the menu and find where you're going. You can actually just go directly here, and you could start typing in a unit, for example, or you could type in an owner. You could, go directly to that, to where when that populates, you could start typing it in, and it'll pull you right to that particular unit or particular owner searched, and populating that, and bringing you right directly to that unit itself. So when you click into it, it'll populate the list, and it'll bring you right to that particular form that you're looking for. So you can do certain things where, whether you're typing in the global search or if you're filtering your unit list, you can, type in a unit number or type in a few letters, and it'll find it and bring you right to that form. So you don't have to go through, if I'm going to my units and then clicking on the particular unit itself. A unit that I actually used here is, let me grab it, and we could go directly into this. And just like the images resizing in the communications, we've kept the tabs here on the unit form, just because there's so much information, as you know, on a unit. And so what we have here is, if you go over to your images and documents, this is showing under the unit images folder all public facing or web facing images that you have. So this particular unit, for example, and all the images associated with it are here. And if you need to upload new images, or adding a unit and adding images to it, you can just hit the plus icon and select those in here and bring them right in. So you have that ability to bring them in. They'll automatically resize. And when you come in, you can, if I go back to my unit here, it'll automatically resize those images for you. When you bring them in, you upload them right from your computer, whether you're uploading one or many, and you bring them in, send them. They're much quicker to bring in and add in, one or multiple images. You don't have to separately in the, resize the images and then bring them into the program anymore. It just puts it right in there. You can click on it, name it, and then it's in there in the application. So that replaces that FTP and having to send the images through, and some of the nuances there, where uploading images and storing them will be much quicker for you all. We've also added maintenance and housekeeping folders here. So if you were using work orders and housekeeping in the application, for example, you could put images specific to your maintenance team in here. So if they needed to see where the electrical panel on that unit is, or something specific to each unit, you could put in images there, and these will not be out, to the web. This is just strictly for them. And then also for housekeepers, if you have a unit that you like to have staged a particular way, you could put in images there as well. So things that we're starting to move towards, where being able to set up images and documents and stuff like that for each unit for your housekeepers or maintenance are things you can do with the new application as well. Any questions on the process there? I don't believe you're using work orders or housekeeping in the application currently.
No.
Yeah. Do you guys use a separate application, or are you doing it manually, or how do you do it now? Just out of curiosity.
Verbally, manually.
Yep.
Just do it manually.
Gotcha. Okay. Is it, I'll show you this, it's just to see what it looks like, but a new thing here is that if you were logging that information, so, when guests check in and out, or housekeeping tasks auto-generate, you could utilize the unit status form here, where what this would be is that if you were actively using work orders and housekeeping or tracking it in the application, it would populate here on the unit status form. And so again, this is a list view listing all of your units, and you could filter by location. And then you would see that, okay, so when there's a guest staying in the unit, it'd be blue. But if there was another arrival, this would be red if there was an outstanding work order or housekeeping task that need to be completed before the next guest arrives. And you could click on them and pull the flyout. It would show you the task. You can mark it right there. If you say, okay, yeah, they've done that, I can mark it as complete. But just another way to keep it in the application and use it this way. Because one of the things we're doing that will, likely come with this application or shortly after the release is a revamped mobile work order and housekeeping application. So that if you wanted your vendors in the field, they could use an application going in there, whether they're, a housekeeper could create work orders and upload them and create them automatically in the program, or they can go in for the, units they're assigned to clean to, mark them complete or in progress as they're there, so that this whole thing would be updating automatically for you all. I'm sure you have a unique way of doing it now, and I'm sure you're aware that we have this, but this piece here in particular will be new. And then we're also revamping our app. So just to inform you of some things that are to come in the future as well of what we're going towards. All right. Any questions on the housekeeping work orders piece of it?
No.
All right. I believe I've covered, at a high level, a lot of the things that we've got going on. Is there any particular questions or things that I haven't covered yet that you're looking for me to cover today?
I don't think.
The API is the same. And so that means, with you guys and your website and any other vendors you're working with that are using the API, that won't change when moving to this application. So the interference with your website and how that views, it's all reading the same database. So that won't change. In terms of distribution, we use, still using the same channel managers. We won't have any direct integrations with this new application. So we'll still utilize, PMT, Logible, other channel managers if you're looking to connect to Verbo, Airbnb, and so on there. You're not currently using any distribution, are you? Fine rentals. Gotcha. Okay. Yep. So in terms of that, none of those connections are will be changed there, and what API they're using currently. Any other questions?
I don't know.
All right. And like I said, in terms of expectations and timeline, we expect to be able to start offering this to customers starting summer, June, July timeframe. And then certainly from there, if you're like, that's our busy season, we'd rather push it off, or on each customer basis, we'll certainly work with you in terms of, what timeframe works for you. If you're not ready for it, then we can, work with you in that aspect. But if you have an idea of a timeline that would be best to transition, do you have anything like that in mind, so that I can log that here, just so we can get an idea with all of our customers as I work through demos here and showing it out to everyone? Okay. Right. Yep. And we can take it case, day by day or month by month. We're working on finalizing pricing and obviously finishing the development of it to push it out. And then, in terms of the pricing, what we're doing is we're going to bundle together a lot of the core of the application, really reducing a lot of the add-ons that we currently have, just so that, we're adjusting it there. You can still pay monthly, quarterly, annually, stuff like that. But, those are the upgrades that we're doing in terms of that. And then finishing this out so that, we can touch base, beginning of Q3 and say, hey, we're here. This is what we're looking at. Make sure we're on the same page. We can revisit this a few times. Absolutely. And, make sure, I know it's been a hectic last year, and then this year's, up in the air. We can work with you on timeline as well, but not something we're going to force to implement in the next year. We will sunset the 9.5 application at some point, but, right now we've got quite a long list of customers that want to get on it ASAP. So, we can go from there. Absolutely.
And then your office will just take all of our data and transport it into this new.
Yeah, we'll have an onboarding process, but yet what's really key here is that this application was built on the same database that you're currently on in the 9.5 application. So it all carries over nicely into the application. There isn't any fields or forms that are missing that you would lose information from. So, you can see a list of your locations are in here, your guests, your inquiries, your reservations. And then we'll work on having training included in the upgrade and, work with you there as to, like I mentioned, it shouldn't take us more than a few hours to set it all up. And then, kind of like an on and off switch where you just go to the web browser, log in with your credentials and then get in and continue on.
Okay. And the security is set up as like it is right now.
Yeah, so you'll have to revisit the permissions for each user because we've added a lot of stuff, reorganized the pods. We'll probably have templates for like user roles, like a reservationist, an agent, that you could take the core of and copy that off to them and push out to 3 or 5 people, whatever it might be. But we're not doing the 1 through 9 security levels anymore. They can get pretty confusing. Really it's like a hierarchy. Like, do you have access to reservations? Yes. Then can you see all of these? Yes. And then it goes down all the way to the individual pod level. Which pod, if, on a reservation, can they see the commissions pod or, unit status, stuff like that. So that'll be included in the onboarding, but those are really between the setting up new templates, which you might want to do because now you can add your logo and colors and make it look better. That's coming from you. The permission levels, those are the 2 main things that really would be required on your end. But in terms of data conversion, that's all on us. That is pretty well set up with the way we built it.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions, things I didn't cover that you wanted to see or have answered here?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Well, certainly my apologies with my internet connection. It's work from home, I guess, isn't what it's lived up to be. If you guys would like to revisit it, take a look at it again, absolutely let me know. If you're looking at Q3, Q4, shoot me an email, use my email. If you have follow-up questions, shoot me an email as well. I'm happy to get answers for you all. And I do appreciate everyone jumping on here and getting an hour in to take a look.
Hey, Charlie, this is Brian Schmidt. I've been sort of auditing this as I've been able. Thanks for making the presentation. So when is this going to be available for everybody to use here? Is there a sign-up process or what? Yeah,
so like I mentioned, we can start onboarding customers. Our goal is to release this come summer, June, July. From there, we obviously have hundreds of customers that we want to onboard, and some want to do it in the summer, some want to push it off till Q3 or Q4. So, knowing that we could start potentially in the summer and then working from there as to what time frame works best for you. I think Steve mentioned maybe Q3, Q4 is typically your slower times a year that might work better. And then we'll work through with you as to an onboarding process, what training is included, if you want to purchase additional training. I saw a message here that, one of your staff members may have missed it. If we want to take a look at this again, I'm happy to do another demonstration. Hopefully my internet's better for you all as well. And then really working with you as to, all right, this is our ideal time frame. I'm jotting that down. And then we have a list of all the customers and what time frames they want. And we're going to do our best to meet those timelines for when you'd like to transition.
Great. Steve, did you record this or no? Okay.
And I know that the recording might be a little bit glitchy in some things. So, certainly don't hesitate to reach out if you want to do another one. I'll make sure my internet's solid and we can get a better demonstration as well to show it, to anyone that missed it as well.
So have you onboarded anybody? Is there a beta test going on this, or have you onboarded anybody yet to have an idea of how long that would take generally or anything like that, Charlie?
We haven't onboarded anyone yet. It's actually what we're showing you is still in a staging environment. Our developers are working on it. We expect that, we're looking here at your data. And so the big thing here is that it only takes us a few hours to convert your information into the application. And so aside from us setting up that and bringing in your images here, just the few things and the onboarding of you guys wanting to probably set up new email templates that are going to get sent out of the program and revisiting the user permission levels. We really expect, depending on how long the training takes and what, time you want in training and the time it takes to set up some templates ahead of time, the transition itself, we expect shouldn't be more than, once we start the process, a week or so or less, really. You're not going to lose any historical information. You're not going to have to redo any information. Your banking information, all the way it's set up, will carry into this application.
Okay, great, Charlie. Thank you.
Cool, absolutely. Does Q3, Q4 timeframe, is that what you guys think would be ideal?
Yeah, time wise, in terms of level of business, it's probably keep third quarter.
Yeah, cool. And once we nail down the pricing model of what we're doing here, there will be a slight increase, but you'll get a ton of new functionality. We'll contact you. We can have those conversations. We can get a list of, is there certain additionals, housekeeping, electronic signatures, and so on and so forth. Are you interested in those things? And that's a conversation Bob Ackerman and myself and whoever on your team want to have. And then from there, we can also revisit this, take another look at it, and then talk about what's included in the training, the onboarding, and continue that conversation from here.
Okay, great.
Cool. All right. Well, I really appreciate everyone jumping on today. Again, if another staff member wants to take a look, I'm available next week or in the future. Just let me know. Shoot me an email.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank
All right. It was nice to meet you all. Have a great rest of the day.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.